It's stamped on packaging, embedded in corporate mission statements, and tossed around in political campaigns. But despite how often we see the word sustainable, actually trying to pin down a strict definition usually results in vague answers. Much of that confusion stems from the fact that we are still using an outdated definition. Back in the 1970s, the conversation was almost exclusively about pollution, environmental preservation, and saving trees. The reality of what the term means today is far heavier. It is a dense socio-economic theory that sits awkwardly in the space between strict state regulation and free market enterprise. This diagram is the Sustainable Development Matrix. It relies on three specific dimensions: planet, people, and profit. These three pillars are often at war with each other. This vagueness is an inherent property of the system, the blur created when you try to align goals that actively push against one another. Humanity is currently trying to balance three massive priorities all at the same time: protecting the environment, ensuring social equity, and driving economic growth. Look at what happens when human needs collide with planetary limits. Improving social well-being means building infrastructure, creating jobs, and fighting poverty. Achieving this historically requires pulling massive raw materials directly out of the earth. But keeping the environmental pillar stable requires us to severely restrict access to those exact same natural resources. We see similar friction between the planet and the profit margin. Modern capitalist corporations are strictly designed to maximize financial returns. Asking them to suddenly absorb the high costs of eco-friendly materials or pay for the ecological damage they cause cuts directly into their core objective. Optimizing for one of these pillars puts structural stress on the other two. There are no easy solutions because the system is built on friction. Because we operate in a highly connected global economy, these tensions aren't contained by national borders. Academics call this interdependence. When a wealthy, industrialized nation pursues rapid economic expansion, it generates massive carbon emissions and pollution, but frequently avoids paying the bill for the resulting climate damage. The fallout from heavy industrial production and consumer waste often flows completely downstream. This actively degrades local environments and the daily quality of life in entirely different regions of the world. This creates an incredibly tricky dynamic. Nations that historically built wealth through unrestricted, dirty industrialization are now asking developing nations to adopt expensive, restrictive green policies, limiting their primary path out of poverty. You simply cannot untangle local business decisions from global environmental and social consequences. A single economic choice in one hemisphere will eventually trigger an impact in the other. We tend to imagine sustainability as a peaceful, static finish line where humanity lives in perfect harmony with nature. The reality is far more chaotic. It is a continuous, difficult act of managing these inherent tensions across multiple disciplines every day. Navigating these compromises is impossible without a framework for consensus. Deciding how to ration resources or distribute wealth requires a system where every stakeholder can influence the outcome, turning democracy from a moral ideal into a practical necessity for stable management. It demands fairness, a commitment to distributing the world's wealth and natural resources equitably, not just among countries today, but between our generation and those that will inherit the earth. None of this holds together without strong, highly skilled institutions capable of monitoring the data, enforcing regulations, and holding rule breakers accountable. Continuing to prioritize short-term, isolated growth results in a net loss for the other pillars. Shifting toward integrated management means every financial gain must be weighed against its long-term costs to the social and environmental foundations of the business. True sustainable development is a relentless global negotiation. It is the complex process of making sure that whatever we build, consume, and profit from today leaves a viable, opportunity-rich world for tomorrow.